All right, now let us say hello to the man who will be co-headlining UFC 257 next weekend in Abu Dhabi. Of course, he's the hangman himself, Dan Hooker. Highly anticipated fight against Michael Chandler, a fight that just came together apparently a couple of weeks ago. Dan, appreciate the time as you're getting set to go out to Abu Dhabi. Could I ask, when did you find out that you were fighting Michael Chandler? Because this kind of came together very recently.
Yeah, I've known about it for a while. I've known about it. I've been training pretty hard for about 6.5 weeks for Michael Chandler. So yeah, I was approached about this fight a while ago. So I'm more than ready at this point.
I would imagine you like the idea of fighting Chandler. There's a lot of buzz surrounding him. He's a fresh face, former champion in Bellator. When they offered you this, was it a no-brainer for you?
Oh, 100%. The whole card, the first pay-per-view of the year, Conor McGregor card, Dustin Poirier. It's a huge card. And he's a big name. They put him in as the backup for the title. That shows how much stock they kind of put behind the guy. And I was one of the first guys to put my hand up and say I'd welcome him to the UFC. So yeah, I was excited that that name came through, and I was excited about the card and the opportunity, and to fight on Fight Island as well.
A guy like Chandler, who made a name for himself in Bellator for about a decade, former champion a couple of times there, 155. Are you familiar with him before they offer you him or before he comes to the UFC? Like, are you a guy that watches Bellator and other organizations?
Oh, I definitely watch as much fights as I can, but more I'd say from the scene down here, like the local circuit down here. So I definitely knew who he was, and I'd seen highlights of him, highlights of his fights with Eddie Alvarez. When Eddie came over to the UFC, or I'd go back and just have a quick look. But I hadn't done any real study on Chandler until the fight came through, and yeah, I wasn't that aware of his career or his accomplishments. But going back and having a look at what he's done in Bellator, and seeing that very early on he was fighting at a high level in Bellator. He's had 20-something fights in that organization. So he's been at the top tier for a long time. So I definitely understand, going back and watching his career, that the excitement around him coming over to the UFC is definitely warranted.
So now that you have done that work, that homework, so to speak, are you impressed with him? Like, do you consider him a top tier UFC lightweight based on what you've seen?
Yeah, I consider his skill set and what he's accomplished and what he's capable of doing to be, yeah, at that elite level. But yeah, we just don't know, because he hasn't been in there and competed against a lot of friendly faces. So yeah, I'm as excited as you guys are to see how he fares against the guys on this side.
So, when he signed with the UFC, there was some talk of him fighting Tony Ferguson, Dustin Poirier. Those fights didn't come to fruition. Then he was the backup for the title fight in October. When he first signed, I said, I think it would be apropos for him to fight a Dan Hooker or Paul Felder. Like, you kind of have to earn your spot in the most stacked division in the sport. And yet it seemed like he was at one point going to bypass that. Now he ends up with you. Did you feel the same way? Like, when you heard that he was a backup for a title fight, a title, by the way, that you've never fought for, did it rub you the wrong way?
Like, I knew he was I heard, the rumors that he was coming over to the UFC, or that he'd signed with the UFC, and I wasn't too concerned about the whole thing. And then they put him as the backup for the title, and I was like, well, that fight now interests me. That's a fight that I would like. If you're putting him in as a backup for the title, I would like to take that spot. I would like to get in there, beat him, and take that spot and put myself back in title contention.
Mm. Um, I want to just go back, if I could, prior to the Chandler fight. For a minute there, it seemed like you were in the crosshairs of one Nathan Diaz. It seemed like he was targeting you, and then that kind of just fizzled away. What happened?
Nothing happened. No, like that's he's game as they come. I got a lot of respect for I myself a fan of the sport. Yeah, I've watched the Diaz brothers, seen them compete, love how game they are. I would love to get out there and compete against one of them. So yeah, I obviously put my hand up for the fight at whatever weight he would choose to fight at, just because that fight. And then the style in which he fights intrigues me a lot. You know, he's going to come, he's going to push a pace, and he's going to bring the fight. You know, so that's always got me excited. But yeah, nothing came to fruition from that.
No one called you. No one asked if you were interested. Nothing at all.
Nah, no, nothing.
Would you have done it at 170?
100%. 100%. I'll fight Nate Diaz at 185, whatever he wants to fight at. That's I just would yeah, it would just be good, cool, very cool for me. Very surreal to compete against him.
Okay, so then let me ask you, if you beat Michael Chandler on the 23rd, would you still be interested in revisiting that, or do you feel at that point that you would be past that point?
Oh, I would always I'll be open to that fight. I would definitely be open to that fight. You know, if someone seriously came and approached me about that fight, it would be at any stage of my career, it would be very difficult for me to turn that fight down. If that fight, you know, I'm at the point now where I only really want to fight guys that, you know, excite you, or you know, exciting fights, or fights that get you out of bed, so to speak. And that is one of those fights.
So we're talking here. You're still at CKB, City Kickboxing in Auckland. You're on your way in just a few hours to go to Abu Dhabi. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I read this in a couple places. After the fight next weekend, you won't be able to return home for a month. You'll have to stay in Abu Dhabi for a month, and then you'll have to quarantine upon returning to New Zealand. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So what like New Zealand brought in was what's the quarantine back here, but now you need a ticket. You need to book in, and I booked in 2 months ago, but it was that was the earliest date I could get, was the 21st of February. So yeah, we fight on the 23rd of January, and then I have to hang around for another 4 weeks before I'm able to fly back to New Zealand and then do my 2 weeks quarantine.
Wow. Mentally, how do you feel about that? Not being able to see your family for that long?
Like at first I was like pretty pissed off about it until my wife Isabella told me to stop complaining and be a bit more positive. She said you know, there's no one you know that's able to get out and travel the world at the moment and see somewhere new. I myself have never spent any time in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and the UAE. So yeah, I've kind of changed my outlook on it, and I'm excited to get out there and travel, see somewhere new. You know, they've got the COVID situation pretty well under control over in that side in the UAE. So yeah, I've changed my tune, and I'm more excited about it now.
So you'll be able to see your family around first week of March?
Yeah, I'll walk out of isolation. Yeah, I think it's about the 4th or 5th of March.
Wow, that is amazing. Speaking of, you know, the way they're handling it over there in Abu Dhabi, is, you know, I see on your Instagram, I see on Izzy's Instagram, is life like totally normal over there in New Zealand? Like you don't have to wear masks, you can be in big groups, like you go to, is it basically a normal, other than the quarantine stuff, but like once you're living, is it pretty much how it was a year and a half ago or so?
Yeah, pretty much back to normal. Well, yeah, it's like that's the reason we're able to do it, is because we have you know, strict border controls. You know, everything's pretty easy. We're a tiny island in the bottom corner of the South Pacific. Right. It's pretty closed off. But once you get through your quarantine in the border, it's life as normal. Israel was just at a big concert. It's Rhythm of Vines. I think it's 30,000 people at a festival. Stadiums are full over here, so it's yeah, we're normal, no masks or anything.
When I look at his IG stories, it's like a parallel universe. It's like this doesn't really exist. I don't even know what I'm looking at because it's so foreign to what we're living like here in America. I was seeing you guys without masks with all these people, so I am envious, and I commend all of you for doing what you have done. I'll never forget that photo of you, you know, behind the gate, staring at your daughter on the other side of the gate. That one really touched me as a parent. How difficult was it being in that room for 2 weeks, you know, upon returning from the Poirier fight?
Yeah, that is tough. You know, especially with the results. So I'm hell bent on a good result here. I'm hell bent on a win. And I think that'll make that process, that 2 weeks away from my family, a lot easier if I was able to come back with the win.
That fight was incredible. The Poirier fight in June, one of the best fights of the year. For whatever it's worth, I gave it the second round, my round of the year. That round, I mean, that was just incredible stuff, especially the last minute or so. When you look back on that fight, is there a lesson or two that you take away from it? A big moment for you, 5 rounds against one of the all-time best. What do you take away from that fight?
Yeah, you take a lot of lessons. This is one sport you have to be very honest with yourself about things if you want to make any kind of improvements. Not so much like that aspect of I can take the positive that I feel like I fought terribly and that I I went 5 rounds and almost won, and I fought in my opinion I didn't fight well. I fought pretty terribly.
Wow.
So I'm excited about, man, I feel like the last few, I haven't been fighting at the way I'm capable of fighting. And I feel like I can use those fights as developments. And I feel like I'm at a point now where everything's kind of coming together. And I feel like Michael Chandler is like the perfect opponent to have everything come together.
Why so?
Just because I believe I understand his game. I believe his game is pretty straightforward. He's not like a Tony Ferguson or something like that, where it's going to be completely unpredictable as to what as to how he approaches the fight or the strikes that he chooses to throw. I feel like Michael Chandler is an opponent that I can watch, and I feel like he's fundamental, and it's a style which I understand.
You said that you fought terribly against Dustin Poirier. What in particular didn't you like about your performance that night?
Like technical issues. Technical issues. The way I fought, the style in which I fought, very defensively irresponsible. Just a number of things. None of my coaches were happy with it. So that'll tell you why. I got no pats on the back from any of my coaches. But with the result of that fight, so that speaks volumes. If they're for the fans, and I go back and watch it as a fan, it's an incredible fight. It's a great fight. But from a technical aspect, it was I feel like I just really let myself down.
You don't strive to be in those firefights, right? Like you it's fun for us, but some people say
I feel like I did. I feel like I that's as a young fighter, that was what interested me the most. Or I mean, gunning for those 50K bonuses, gunning for those performances of the night, gunning for finishes and knockouts and all that jazz. But I'm just at a stage now. I've matured in the UFC and I've grown as a fighter. And it's just like a 50K bonus is not gonna change my life in any way, shape, or form. I feel like I've outgrown gunning for that or fighting in that style. I need to emulate more of what my teammates have done. I can go back and watch the last performances of Israel and Alex and Brad, and they were very cerebral and very technical and very controlled, and they fought very well. And those are fights that our coaches were very pleased at. So I'm more gonna try and emulate that style.
Will Coach Eugene be in your corner for this fight?
Nah, so unfortunately with the extra stay, he's not going to be able to come over, because that would mean he just can't. We've got too many fighters over here. There's a big boxing fight, Joseph Parker versus one of my teammates, Junior Farr. So that would mean he'd miss that, and he'd miss pretty much the whole of Israel's camp. So he's taking care of those other boys.
How do you feel about that?
Oh, I'm fine with it. I understand the situation. I understand the conditions we're under. This is unprecedented that one fight is going to take 2 months there and back, a 2 month round trip, and that's just unprecedented. It's just but we're in the sport of opportunities, and you need to jump on opportunities as they come. So I definitely understand it. I wasn't even I never expected him to miss out on all those other opportunities.
When was the last time he wasn't in your corner?
It's gonna sound bad. I'm trying to think. Barboza.
I was gonna say Barboza. Yeah, I was gonna say, because I remember him talking about, had he have been there, he would have thrown in the towel, right?
Yeah. I'm confident in my corner. I'm meeting George Hickman over there. He's the head coach at Tiger Muay Thai, so he's a very experienced coach there to keep to be hands-on, and I'm confident. I've spent a lot of time working with George when I was training over in Thailand at Tiger Muay Thai, so I'm confident in the corner I'm bringing.
I don't know if you know this, you probably do. That's prime real estate you're in next weekend, right? I mean, the fight right before the return of Conor McGregor, so many more people will be watching. Do you feel like this aligns you? Like, you get that victory, you can easily get on the mic, say, hey, Conor, you're next. And now all of a sudden you're on the same path as him. Is that something that you will look to do? I know you're not, you don't typically like to do that sort of thing, although we did see you do it with Paul Felder back in the day. Is this something that you will look to do if you're victorious against Michael?
Yeah, I think you just have to see how all these performances play out. If the performance warrants a bold statement, if the performance warrants that kind of opportunity, then yeah, I'm definitely not shy to grab the microphone and ask for an opportunity like that.
Do you think Conor beats Dustin? You know Dustin very well now. Obviously, you haven't fought Conor, but who do you think wins that fight?
Yeah, I'm to be honest, I'm up in the air with that one. I'm up in the they match up extremely well against each other. I feel like it's going to be a much different fight than the first one. I feel like Dustin's developed into one of the most durable guys in the division. So yeah, I think it's an interesting match of skill sets. But I can't pick.
Fair enough. And by the way, before I let you go, I saw you talking recently about Tony Ferguson fighting in front of, no fans, empty arena. And for you got that experience in June. This time there will be around 2,000 or so. Do you think that will matter at all come fight night, 2018,000 seat stadium? Like, do you like that energy, or do you think once you're in there, you won't even notice it?
Well, I've had a few Kiwis message me and tell me that they've got tickets because they're living in
wow.
They're living in Abu Dhabi. So there's a few Kiwis. So I'll probably be able to hear some pretty Kiwi things being yelled out during the fight. I'm pretty coherent when I'm out there and performing, so I listen to the crowd quite a lot. So it'll be good. I'm excited to have 2,000. It's better than the production crew just standing there with cameras. I'm excited for 2,000. That's better than none.
Well, I can't wait. Looking forward to this fight as much as the main event. It's a tremendous fight. Awesome. I appreciate you doing this before you head out. And by the way, the Dan Hooker podcast, I love the setup. I love the look of the whole thing, the black, the logo, the microphone. Like, there's something about it's a very pro setup that you got going on there. And I urge everyone to check it out. I'm envious of your setup. I don't know who's behind all of that, but what you've done, it's a clean, nice setup, and it sounds good. Well done to you, my friend. It's great stuff.
No, thank you very much. I stopped doing it when I jumped in the fight camp. I've been really focusing and gone all in on this one. But yeah, look out for it when I get out of isolation in March. We'll be back to business.
And by the way, why can't you get an earlier flight? You couldn't get, like, is that the problem basically? Like, you couldn't even go somewhere else to get to New Zealand?
Nah, so they only have like a limited number of quarantine spots available. So there's only a limited number of, there's only I think it's less than 5,000 spots in isolation. It's about 4 or 5,000, and those spots are all booked out, and they're all full. So you go on a queue, or you have to book in. So yeah, the 20th. If you went and tried to book now, you probably wouldn't get back into New Zealand until April.
Wow, that is amazing. Well, clearly it's working. You'll worry about that later. Safe travels. Good luck to you. And again, thank you for the time, Dan.
No, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Cheers, mate.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.